Greetings everyone, my name is Napoleon Complex, I go by Ludendorff in Southern forums, and welcome to Faction Spotlight. In this Field of Glory 2 series we'll be looking at a series of different armies fighting different opponents and see what their strengths and weaknesses are, what lists counter them, what lists suffered against them. So today we are looking at a list I have had a lot of fun with. It is the Galatian 280 to 63 BC list. What makes this list stand out is its large number of superior warbands that can shatter just about anything that is put in front of them, unless it's a veteran pike phalanx. These units, if they get the veteran impact, can even beat a pike army by breaking through at certain weak points and then turning the flanks, or by spreading panic through the pike line as it breaks up. The only thing that can stop these units from the front reliably are veteran pike phalanxes, and they are more expensive, as the superior warbands are only slightly more expensive than the regular pikes. They also have an excellent cavalry wing. You can take up to 5 units of noble cavalry and 2 units of elite armoured noble cavalry, which is more than enough to dominate most cavalry battles, assuming that the enemy does not deploy elephants. And this large number of cavalry also gives a large and cheap mobile cavalry force, especially when coupled with the Celtic chariots, to dominate the flank game. On top of this, and making them even more dangerous, is the large number of close order warbands they can bring, and these help to act as reserves to the superior warbands and to protect their flanks as the army moves up. So as a superior warband dominate the opposing side's superior infantry, these warbands can dominate their average quality infantry, and unless the enemy bring offensive spearmen that are able to withstand the initial charge, or very powerful impact infantry such as the ones the Romans use, they will struggle to deal with the large number of soldiers and the impact status in these men, as they will either break them in impacts or grind them down over time. There are 2 ways that these types of units can break the enemy formation. The list does, however, have some severe drawbacks. For starters, there are almost no skirmishers. We only have these 4 light javelinmen, and honestly there are so few of them that I often don't even bother bringing them. We also have no lancers and we have no elephants, which means that our cavalry, although quite effective in a melee, can be broken by a shock attack, or they can be disrupted by elephants and defeated that way. And in that kind of situation, the Galatians really do not have a lot of options. Their light javelinmen are not numerous enough to counter an elephant attack if the enemy brings even a smattering of skirmishers to tie the opposing light foot up, and all the Galatians can really do against an elephant army is try and delay them. So as I said before, the point of this list is not just to bring out the Galatians once and then forget about them. I would like to try and test them out against other armies, and so today we are facing the Carthaginian Hannibal in Africa 202 BC list. Now you may know by now that this is my favourite list from the classical antiquity. It is superbly balanced. We have elephants, elite cavalry, less elite cavalry. We have a smattering of light javelin horse, made even more numerous by the fact that they have Numidian and Moorish allies. We have elite infantry. These veteran African spearmen are probably one of the few units which can withstand and then turn back a superior warband charge. We have veteran Italian foot on top of this, who will be able to slaughter even the superior units on rough ground. Though on the open they may be vulnerable to the shock impact due to their lower cohesion test. The warbands may not be too much use here due to the presence of my superior warbands, but they won't be completely useless. If they can be matched against some of my average warbands, then they can help to pin down my units and overextend my line, because with such expensive units, one of the major problems with my list is that it's very expensive and I can't bring many soldiers. And that's always been a problem with warbands. You have to pay for those extra soldiers. And you can see that already. I'm not necessarily going to deploy in this formation, but this is a common formation for me to deploy in. It is the wedge with the troops in the middle as reserves. The idea is that the front moves up and breaks through the center. The reserves cover the flanks, and then the reserve troops, the flank guards cover the flanks, as their name suggests, and then the reserves follow up through healing up any holes in the line which appear as the superior warbands either break through or in emergencies are pushed back. And the idea is to break through the enemy centre and spill out into the middle of the field before the enemy can get around the flanks. However, these elite units are extremely dangerous, and the elephants are obviously lethal to our cavalry and may also be lethal to the superior warbands, and I would not be surprised if I found war elephants in the centre or in the flanks supporting the cavalry. And of course Carthage has an excellent cavalry wing of its own. Though it's a little bit depleted due to the Numidian or Moorish allies, normally there would be 4 units of noble cavalry here. But even without the elephants, this cavalry wing is more than a match for my Galatian wing of cavalry. The African spearmen and Spanish. However, the problem the Carthaginians have is that their other units will suffer quite badly against the superior warbands or even the ordinary warbands. These African spearmen might be able to stop the ordinary warbands, but they'll fold quickly against the superior version. The Spanish Cetari simply are only impact foot, but they simply don't have the depth to deal with the warbands, and these light spear units will all get smashed to pieces by a superior warband charge, or even ground down by an average warband. And so this is one of the cases where the Carthaginians will probably have to rely on their elite soldiers and rather on the medium infantry spam, which I usually take to the battle. They also have a much better skirmisher wing, and if they can mass up enough skirmishers to cause disruptions amongst the average warbands or even deplete the superior warbands, then they may be able to win that way as well. I mean, obviously, from what I said earlier, I consider the Carthaginian Hannibal in Africa 202 BC list to be better than the Galatians, but I think the Galatians are interesting enough for their play style and good enough that they're worth a spot in the faction highlights. And in fact, I had so much fun with them in a custom campaign a while ago with friends that I think they're worth bringing out again to show everyone else. Okay, I am going to draw up for real this time, and I will be back when I have finalised my army choices and decided on my initial strategy. Okay, so here we are. As you can see, I have used the full frontage available to me. The river has somewhat narrowed things down. However, I have, as you can see, warbands and a flank guard here. Now, normally if I was deploying flank guards and relying on a central charge, then I would have the noble cavalry back here, blocking the back of the wedge. However, in this case, I'm aware of the threat of elephants. Now, it may seem insane to deploy cavalry against elephants, but if I see elephants coming, the idea is that I will spread this line out a little bit, and I will bring my cavalry into the centre of the battlefield, and I will try to zone of control the elephants with the chariots or the cavalry. And the aim there will be to stop the elephants from going into my superior warbands and instead waste their time chasing these cheap chariots or the enemy, or my slightly less cheap but still much cheaper than the elephants noble cavalry. So just a little bit of adaptations to the wedge there. We're still using these to guard the flanks. These break through, and these keep the enemy busy at the centre on the flanks, seeing as we are likely to be outnumbered. You'll notice that my generals are concentrated a bit differently compared to how they were in my Hannibal in Africa list. I have ensured that my generals can always be on. I can have 4 generals on my powerful infantry for maximum shock effect. However, in emergencies, the generals can jump to my cavalry if need be, and I have 2 generals appointed for that. This is a slightly broken battlefield. There is some rough ground, but I particularly take note of this rough ground towards the back of the battlefield, and what will happen here is that I will have to shift my strategy and again use my cheaper units to lock down any mediums who take cover on the rough ground while my superior units achieve breakthrough. because I've encountered battlefields like this with this army where it's broken ground and the Galatians simply need to deal. They can't attack the rough ground directly, so what they have to do is strike at units which aren't on the rough ground and drive through around the flanks until they can open up a hole in the line that is large enough for the rest. That leaves the flanks of the troops in the rough ground vulnerable enough that they can be attacked from two directions and destroyed that way. I don't know if the strategy is going to work. I'm up against Thunderbird, who I believe is quite a good player, and we'll see how this goes. For now, next turn. Okay, let's rumble. Not what I was expecting to see. What on earth? I've never seen a deployment like this. Here's something that sounds so low for the recording. I think it's just infantry moving in the shadows. Probably on this flank here. Okay, the very first move here is obvious. We need to get up on top of that hill. We need to see what we're dealing with as much as possible. Actually, I can take that move back. Oh, we saw something else. What do we say? We actually outnumber the enemy. As I advised, he's taken an elite army rather than a mass army. Well, I didn't advise him about that, but he's obviously spotted that issue. So there's actually a height advantage for me here. And I think if I can get my troops in amongst his soldiers here, the problem is the veteran African spearmen, because they can dispatch these superior warbands without too much difficulty. Well, with some difficulty. Because they're steady, disciplined troops, they are very likely to win against Galatians. Although if he's not careful and he's willing to come forward too aggressively, but his skirmishers are going to trip me up. Let's take a look. Alright, looks like I'm going to have to do a quick flank. Hello! Oh, now there's 2 units of veteran African spearmen. See, I can beat the veteran Italian foot, but not on the rough ground. This flank is starting to become a more and more risky proposition. And oh god, and he's got elephants there as well, which means I need to have a chariots on hand to distract them from attacking me. On the other hand, he's quite vulnerable here. If I can get into this group of soldiers that he's refused... Okay, I think I see a potential strategy here. Okay, so we'll push up with the infantry for the moment, because I don't want to tip my hand, but I'm not planning on engaging these frontline forces. I will keep soldiers around to cause them problems, but I have no intention of actually engaging this part of the army. Said I'll send my cavalry over to help the cavalry on this flank, and what I'm really planning on doing is getting my troops in amongst these. How do they move like this? Getting my superior warbands in amongst these African spearmen. And this is going to be a distraction action. See, so I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And everything else goes this way. That's a lot of light cavalry. Alright, next turn. That's gonna hurt. Just a little bit. Well, at least I'll be able to move them out the way next turn. Yes, come closer. Closer. You stay away. I don't want any pachyderm scout cookies. And that wall of light horse is intimidating. This is the key point that I need to break through. Let's see. Don't move up to the hill yet, because we want room to charge these skirmishers as they move up to harass us. I will drop the chariots back just a tile. I need to leave room for my chariots to interfere with the elephants. If the elephants get blocked back here, that's fine. That's great for us. However, let's push up the infantry line. Well, yeah, push up the infantry line and my chariots can scoot in behind them. Because they're good at scooting. That's why they call the shield the scutum, isn't it? Sorry folks, I know you watch this for strategy, not for terrible, terrible ancient history puns. Okay, let's see. Push the horse up a little bit. See if I can't draw that light horse closer and into a risky position. Okay, next turn. Alright, he's opening things up for his elephants. I do have some bad... okay. It's not ideal. If I think I can be in position next turn, we'll have to move quickly. Also means fighting those veteran African spears out in open terrain. Might be able to do something, because I want to force him up this hill. Because even veteran African spearmen will struggle to climb a hill to beat these superior warbands. The other danger is also that these units could parse and let the elephants through to attack. But I can't really do much about that except keep my chariots handy. And there's a risk they could run too far. The skirmishers are already getting in my way. Okay, we'll move here. It probably makes sense to refuse the warbands anyway, so here I guess And here, there's a gap opening in my lines now. Okay, move them up. This is becoming a problem. Really a quite serious problem. And the force is going to split. Well, actually, that's what I want. So let's, a few no-brainers here. Move this unit here, and that's just sealed off the threat from his lines. And this won't be a bad position for the chariots. Although how on earth am I going to make sure that those elephants don't charge through and has a warband? Using the forest might have been a brighter idea. You lot need to hurry up. I need those units to start making a difference to the battle in terms of their positioning. Forest gets in our way again. Again, a problem with using this particular list. Rough ground will get in your way all of the time, even the smallest patches of it get in the way of the Galatians, because their units are unmaneuverable and they are heavy, which means that rough ground completely destroys their maneuverability. So this situation is a problem, and again it's the skirmishers. Next turn. Whoops, I forgot about you. Okay, now it's next turn. Yep, here comes the storm. So I am expecting the elephant unit to be let through. Again, that's where the strength of the warbands is, their numbers. All of that fire and they still didn't even do a cohesion check. Right, the elephant's coming through that way. I'm not sure that's the wisest decision that Thunderbird could have made, because I think they would have been more dangerous surprising my troops. On the other hand, the elephant will have to struggle up a hill pretty much either way at this point, so it's possibly not the least wise thing he could have done. Also, the elephant will be here soon. I'm going to have to move forward and block its advance, which means I'm tipping my hand to what I'm planning to do to stop it as well. What to do. This Spanish Sutari unit is quite vulnerable. If I just had another turn of peace, then they'd come beyond the rough ground. As it is, I'm going to have to reveal to Thunderbird what my plan is to deal with it, to nullify his elephant charge. Being quite hesitant with his light cavalry so far. I can't really advance here until I have his full attention. I mean, plan B would be to maybe try and flank the elephants if they engage, because we do have the hill advantage. Whoever is closest to the elephant unit should get the general, no questions asked. I'm even more afraid of it than I am of the veteran African spearmen, especially since we now have the hill. Lots of skirmisher pressure, that's enough to threaten even the superior warband. Let's just quietly drop back. Forests. Is there any warband army that they can't scotch the dreams of? And now the critical choice, because that elephant unit is now getting dangerously close to the superior warband unit. But it can't charge yet. How about if I... So when if it moves up to here, I need to turn my warband to face this way, and I have one chance at this. The plan, but then if the archers move in, I'm gonna have to move straight up. It's not ideal. But then again, I wish I hadn't done that now, because I could have threatened the flank of the elephants as they come in. Because the warbands can be dangerous to the elephants if they can get the flank attack. There's also a gap in my line forming here. Because let's take a look at this. Don't turn them around just yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I suppose we're okay. I'm worried about this gap because of the engagement heat. I should be alright. I should be okay. I think I've got enough to cover it. Let's just turn the warband around for the moment. No, it's not. I'm not going to tip my hand there. I expect Thunderbird should recognise the danger posed. Because honestly, warbands on rough ground, zone of controlling the elephants, that's as good as the elephants nullified anyway. Because the rough ground will seriously play around with the elephants' charge bonus. That'll be good ground to engage them on. Okay, I think we've done enough here. Next turn. Uh-oh. That's gonna be bad. You should be raining fire on those. Yeah, that's better. Because of the cohesion check, and that's a model down. Those skirmishers are starting to become a real problem. He's not losing his cool, he's trying to draw me out, and that's another possible cohesion test. Nope. This is the problem that the Galatian list runs into. They really struggle against enemy skirmishers. And this is almost down a row of units. Thunderbird's being patient here. They maybe shouldn't be exposing that wing. He should be trying to keep this wing as far away from my army as possible. And the elephant's now within charge distance. Those veteran Italian foot will be clever. So he's got even more units here hidden here. Right, I'm going to move up and zone of control the elephants because that is what the chariots are there for. This unit is in a world of trouble. He honestly has some very strong units facing me here. I'm going to try to draw his troops out of this tough position. A charge here is so risky, I don't want to do this. Falling back could be equally disastrous. Again, my army's heavy infantry, very cumbersome. very difficult to maneuver. This might not be too bad, and it could at least get rid of these light javelin men. Well, it could at least get rid of the archers. Aha. Now that's a stroke of luck. Yes. Oh. Uh-oh. I didn't think that through, did I? Well, I'm committed to it now. Idiots! They were right in front of you. You could have at least attacked. So now the elephant's going to charge, and they're going to go straight into my warband. Probably the worst unit they could have hit. The chariots. That's me. One mistake like that, and that could cost the game. Okay, with that situation developing, I am now in a hurry. I need to try and break through here. Need to start moving out troops to help deal with the situation. So I'm not afraid of those irregular foot. I've got cavalry coming up to help with that situation. Why are they charging that way? Of course. Well, basic mechanics of the game, Napoleon. Let's see. At all. Alright, we'll charge next turn. I'm just going to shift to here so that we're not just standing under this fire, hail of fire. And these javelin are blocked, so the slingers can't bombard any farther. Yeah, the hill's in the way, so they can't do anything. It's all 50-50. It's all height 50. I'm looking at this gap here. That could be an opportunity. Let's see, move my cavalry. Well, the chariots need to be ready to intervene against the elephants. Let's try that again, shall we? So this, I think, is going to be a game of whether or not I can break his right before he can break my right. As if those elephants come forward suddenly. Leave the chariots back for the moment. Lots of light cavalry stalking me at the moment. That's just never a good thing. Let's try and move up in such a way that none of them can get the better of me. I want to leave this route around. Don't want that rough ground getting in my way. This was a bad mistake to make. Hi. You're really big and scary. There is one thing that could work for me. Elephants tend to ignore units, so they might just pursue through, which is exactly what I want, because my chariots can then turn around and distract them again, hopefully before they actually go into a flank. Next turn. Someone suffered a stroke of bad luck. Probably should be concentrating his fire. I wonder if the elephants are going to go blundering past my warbands. Yep, that's not really unfortunate they do that. Elephants are particularly prone to ignoring potential charge targets. I was counting on that. I'm actually really, really happy that happened. And look at how much we've tanked these how well we've tanked these the skirmish fire. That is the strength of the list. It can just take so much damage and still keep going. Okay, he's managed to... That was genuinely unlucky. The veteran African spearmen are usually very reliable, and if he could have got them into melee, he would have had a good chance against my soldiers there. He attacks right at the right place. What he should have done was put a general on them. If he'd placed a general on his veteran African spearmen, then they would probably have... Well, he seems to have blown the roll so badly that it might still have been a disruption. And he might have just ended up losing his general, but he would have lost more slowly, which can mean a lot in Field of Glory. So of course they could rally up, or they could fall back and be saved. I'm just going to stay on the defensive here for the moment. So, I mean, now that this has gone wrong, my position is relatively secure. And he'll even pin in his elephants so they can't cause any mischief. You want to see something stupid? So, okay. What I was aiming for was to run them straight into the irregular foot and try and go after them while they were hemmed in against these archers. But that's actually kind of slightly exposed my position now. They should probably have a general. At least they'll be difficult to engage because those... Oh, it's not that bad because the Spanish Cetari will be at a disadvantage in combat against these superior soldiers, and the irregular foot don't have a chance. They have a good chance of just shattering an impact against superior warbands on the charge. So again, that impact status is so helpful against the troops, against these kinds of engagements. Just turn to face, I think, here. There's a gap opening up. If he's not careful, I'll get through here. Okay. Right, go for it. Yep, no time wasted now. We're going to try and get right into them. Not the group you were supposed to engage. They are now... Oh goodness. We need to hope that they don't win because they'll push through. Skirmishers again. Okay, let's be careful here. Can I turn? No, I can't, not while they're facing like that. I need my chariots to move in here, obviously. Actually, while he's here, he's at a disadvantage. Because those elephants are actually disrupting his own soldiers. If I can get into contact with those disordered troops, that could give me an advantage. Where's my general on this flank? He's already charged, so I can't use him. That would have been a really good time to change my general over and get a solid advantage against these soldiers. I need to get something over there, but I can't. I'm just not quite in position. He's gonna just knock these Celtic chariots out of the way. Move up here to block. Because what I can do is, the elephants are going to come through, but I can still try and move past them. And I'll just try and keep out of the elephant's way. This is a unit that's in danger of being attacked, so I'll shift my general over. Just trying to anticipate things like that. So things are actually going better on the right now than they are on the left. I'm not particularly worried about my position here. I think we're doing fine. It's unfortunate we couldn't take advantage of this situation here, but it is what it is, and the elephants are unlikely to catch the chariots, though they might in the diagonal actually. This is not the best way to engage the elephants. Alright, next turn. So back in the field, and Thunderbird has had that stroke of pretty bad luck. At least they have a good chance of coming back. Oh. But that's less repairable. Well, if we can cause a disruption here, we could even the score. Ouch. It's quite a lot of pressure on that one warband unit now. But that's not going to help. Oh, I didn't see that. Now Nelly the elephant is free to maim horses with her tail. I love that threatening little turn at the end. And now those cavalry are locked down. Oh, good move. Now my chariots are locked in combat and they're in a bit of trouble. Oh, this is looking ugly on the left. Well, at least gets him back to the rough ground. That's going to do exactly nothing to those superior warbands. Those angry Galatians aren't bothered a bit by what happened there. But he's pulled back and now he's on good ground. If he can get me to separate my left from my right, he's in with a chance. That was a bad unit to get disrupted because the other unit's pinned. Get out of here. I hope my chariots don't take their height advantage as an actual advantage and decide to stand and fight. Take a general and smash those irregular foot. Warbands in action, folks. Don't believe their bad press. They are deadly units against average quality troops. Crush them. See that superior status. Even the African spearmen with their offensive spear capability can't stand up to the Galatians when they're on the rampage. Now I'm just going to pile on the pressure. And that's how deadly a Galatian charge can be. It's not so straightforward here, of course. What's going to happen? Could be better, could be worse. Could still end up in a hearse. Wait a second. Do I really care if I don't really care if those noble cavalry get chased, and I want to defend this square here. So let's just calm things down. Right now the priority is on defending my flanks. That was an unfortunate place to leave a unit of archers, though he may be baiting me. I'm going to take the bait. And the veterans do their job and they hold on. And I can bring in a unit of reserves anyway. This is getting infuriating. I'm not going to rise to it though, I'm just going to move out the way. Although, actually... I do have a plan here. And that's good ground to take if I can get all the way to there. Good. Very dangerous situation. They could have turned and ended up on the diagonal there. But it didn't happen, so we're okay. Good. I need them to travel all the way and they stop there. Lucky series of rolls for me. I've been quite fortunate this battle. So now I am in a position to flank here. Eventually. Pretty much whatever he decides to do. I'll move in here now. So if he just waits, I'll engage here, and then I'll flank behind here. If he engages here, I will... if he engages here, I'll get him here. And if he engages here, I'll get him here. If he engages here, he'll get a brief advantage, but then I'll get him here. And if he engages here and then engages here, well, that'll be a slightly better matchup, but I will definitely destroy these veteran Italian foot then. Unless he gets a pullback, what he should do is pull back the archers. And then that unit may come through and that may give him a stay of execution. And nothing about this situation is good. Thing is, I can't just run away because I'm counting on this unit of noble cavalry to help prevent a breakthrough here. But then again, that's kind of the job of these guys. Get out of it. Save yourselves. Try and stay alive. Keep their light cavalry occupied. This has gone kind of opposite to how I thought it would. I ended up defending on my far left and attacking on my far right. Although this has gone to plan. Next turn. So Thunderbird just remarked that this didn't... Why? Uh-oh. Oh my god. That was so stupid. Why did I let that happen? The chariots were right there. All I had to do was remember to move them up. You guys must be screaming at me in the comments. And here comes the disruption. Crack! Oh, they held firm. That was a bit anticlimactic, really. Yeah, this isn't over yet. If that elephant can get round the flanks, I'm in trouble. I should... Oh, of course, because that's why I put it there to block that particular angle of attack. It was protecting this noble cavalry. Yeah, blocking the elephants with the cavalry strategy definitely works, but you need to be careful and not let stuff like this happen. But yeah, Thunderbird is remarking that this didn't take long, and there's a reason for that. This is probably one of the few types of lists that a medium-heavy approach really doesn't work too well. These warbands are so dangerous on impact that he's going to get flanked there. The chances are they're just going to break through everything, although they do have a problem with pursuing. And they're just going to break through everything, and look what's going to happen here. Before any flanking forces have a chance to intervene in the battle. Excuse me one moment. Okay, well this is obviously not going to take long. Look at those veterans are tough, even fragmented. With this kind of height advantage, they have a 37% chance of victory, although it's 80% here. Very tough units, the veteran Italian foot. And those veteran African spearmen, they might still rally and fight off both of these units. Although I think even the veteran Italian spearmen will struggle against two superior warbands. We have the advantage here, so I don't really want to commit to a flank attack. This is much more dangerous. Can I have a general over here, please? Because these African spearmen have a real wee good chance if they can cause... No, there we go. And now now of course in order to engage like that again they have to win the impact again. We're going to break them here. There's going to be a pursuit. Thankfully the pursuit usually only lasts a turn, and you can see that they've already stopped pursuing. Alright, let's push back a bit here. And if we can withstand them, there's definitely a universe where this goes badly for those noble cavalry, because they're trapped between two cavalry units. Actually no, keep them facing that way and I might be able to catch them as they retreat. Lock the elephants down and we'll start to loop back towards the battlefield. Although the elephants can just ride off. I really need to keep these cavalry around so they can paralyze the elephants. We've got these warbands around the back now. But I do need to keep these cavalry under control. Charge! And that's the first bit of good luck that Thunderbird has had this entire battle. Because that could allow his cavalry to get around the rear of my own, and that's actually very dangerous for me now. That could have been the break he was looking for, because those irregular foot move up, they shove the noble cavalry around the way, he gets around the back and he destroys these superior warbands, and the elephants just get in the way. Though he will have trouble locking down all of this. My cavalry's in bad shape now. I suffered several disruptions. I'm just going to pile on the pressure here. God, those veterans are fighting well. Try and get those elephants to disrupt. So we've both got our generals out. If I can break this unit, then I can start to maneuver around the flanks. But for now I can't, because if I move to this position here, I'm going to get flanked at some point. It's too risky to move out here. You'll engage with the Sutari on the downward slope, and their impact bonus will counteract my impact bonus somewhat, although the obviously still superior quality units, and then eventually we'll be in trouble. Seeing as I can't use the chariots for anything else, I can probably start to move around and try and open up some kind of gap here. Try and get something through maybe through this area here. If he leaves these archers here, I can use my chariots to scoot around the back. Another good part in the Galatian list, those beautiful chariots. What do I want to do? Oh yeah, I'm trying to get around the back here, aren't I? It's kind of overkill to send any more around the flanks here. I'm just going to get them to stuff these African spears a bit faster. Didn't win an impact. That could be kind of bad. But those African spearmen are now at a terrible disadvantage against their commander-in-chief. Next turn. Because just to make a point of order, it's not impossible for I mean, it's far from impossible for Hannibal in Africa to beat a Galatian list. It's actually quite probable, I think, with the use of elephants, but using a medium approach would be very difficult. Uh-oh. Okay. So he's driving me back. That's going to be an open flank if this continues much longer. See, even the elephants can't necessarily make headway. I've played for a long time today, but I'm going to finish this up quickly because I don't think this will take long now. Uh-oh. Okay, and now I'm behind these Spanish Cetari, which means that their position has been undermined. As usual, the veteran African spearmen can fight all day. Not a good pushback for my troops there, but we're here now, so we'll just get behind them. Try and break these guys. Not that it's very likely. Hit them again. Because I'm very afraid of them rallying. The veteran African spearmen are one of the few types of units I actually fear in this army. Yep, the elephants are doing their job, getting in the way. Okay, now... oh dear. I think he's done it. I think he's got behind my flanks. No, I can just block him here. That was close. That was frighteningly close. And I'll try and threaten this area here. We need to hurry up. Okay, that's a... again, offensive spears against impact. That's always going to be a dangerous matchup. And just go, 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 go. In hindsight, I'm really not quite sure what I was expecting to achieve here. Nice war elephant. Try and turn away to dissuade those light horse from charging in, though I doubt it'll be effective. If I'm in a position where I can now start to close in against these Spanish Cetari on the rough. But if we go in, we have to go all in. And get a height advantage. What I really want to do is flank, is open up a... oh, that's not really possible anymore. These warbands are on their own. And that's the beginning of the end. Alright, next turn. And there goes the rally. If they charge, that could let the noble cavalry may evade, and that'll let the elephants through. This is the other thing about warbands, they don't lose any effectiveness from casualties. I'm just trying to throw something in the way of these warbands, but it's not going to work. I mean, Thunderbird is putting up a brave fight here, but it's not any... it really was a difficult situation for him. And even the usual Carthaginian advantage of their cavalry is nullified by the fact that my own cavalry is quite strong. And of course the Galatians are a Gallic list. It's the Gauls who Carthage recruited their strong cavalry from. This is obviously, though this is getting very dangerous. It's getting exciting again now. And he needs to try and move as quickly as possible with those elephants. He's probably, I know he's trying to get them into the back of something that the elephants are actually likely to reach, because most of this is just a meltdown situation now. All of this is going to go before the elephants can get into action, so he needs to try to get them into these units here. It's the only viable target left. My superior troops pull back, which means that the flank is actually open here. But my chariots are completely overmatched. Oh, but they held their ground. Yes, cavalry's in trouble there. Okay. I guess I'll take that fight first so that my general can get them. My general is under the least risk of suddenly dying from a lost combat. His men are making a heroic last stand. These are still Hannibal's veterans. They're not going to give up just because things aren't going their way at the moment. Okay. But remember, the Galatians are a strong army too. This is the army that came sweeping down into Anatolia and captured the region. That's an auto break. That's one thing. That's one of the more enjoyable things you get to see with the Galatians, that wild infantry charge. Keep the chariots there for the moment. And we're just mowing these units down. I do hope Thunderbird appreciates that this was a showcase battle, and I am specifically trying to show the strength of an army here, because maybe, I don't know. I keep coming back to it. I'm sure there are ways to. The terrain didn't help, because obviously the hills, it kind of gave me, the way the terrain was set up, it kind of gave me a guide into the weaker part of his army while allowing me to shield my more vulnerable parts. And even then, I think this was a mismatch, honestly. This must be one of the few armies that the Hannibal and Africa list is actually weak to. I'm astounded I found the weakness. So okay, if your opponent's taking Hannibal and Africa, take Galatians. So those irregular foot could turn to flank, so I need to turn back and try and keep them in check. Next turn. Probably the last one, I suspect. Although I'm not really sure where the break's going to come from. Maybe not. 2 more turns. Alright, let's just finish this quickly. Oh, there could be one last play to happen here. If he moves ruthlessly after my Galatian foot. Yeah, he's going for it. If he can hold out. If those veterans just need to do their jobs for a little bit longer. At this point, I'm rooting for the veterans. Thunderbird, if you're watching the recording for this, I am rooting for you just now. Oh, great shot. He's hitting me with everything but the kitchen sink here. Wow, they've lost their back line, taking huge casualties. So can they hold just for one more turn? It doesn't look like it's going to happen. Even the veterans can't stand up to this. No. 3 Galatian warbands and 2 flank attacks. Nothing can stand up to that. Just to polish things off a general's death as well. Now, the battle's still not over. He could get this unit here. He needs this. He needs the Satari to. Oh no, the Satari went. And there we go. Just before the elephants could make their presence felt. Okay. And we're really just mopping up now. But that was kind of the point, to show just how dangerous this kind of list can be, even against the best medium infantry lists. I should have given them the general. Nah, it's come apart anyway. I'll give them the general now. And go after those skirmishers that won't be able to get out the way in time. So my chariots can't do anything to stop that elephant charge. They can do one thing actually. I can put them here. Because now the elephants can't charge and they're just going to come blundering by. So even then, the chariots stop the elephants. The Galatians just have everything they need to dominate this exchange. He's worked hard to get that disruption against my cavalry, and they're just getting driven off because they're only disrupted. But he's got me. Well, goodness, even here he's getting thrown back. Almost got a break in my chariots. Okay. Right. And that's what happens if you try to bring a wall of mediums against these Galatian warbands. They just break everything and storm their way through. Even the North African veterans couldn't stop them, and they're Probably my favourite unit in the entire game. Alright, let's just wrap this up. Next turn. That's all she wrote, folks. So, when I say that it's medium killer lists, and I want to get this in quickly before the video ends, well, let's just let the review screen come up, but this is important. Right. I say medium killers, but they're really average killers. Average offensive spear can't stop them, average heavy weapon can't stop them, average impact foot can't stop them, average light spear, as is the case with most cheap medium troops, certainly can't stop them. And even an average pike phalanx can struggle, because if you have many pike phalanxes, if the Galatians can win in just one point of the line and disrupt the entire pike phalanx quickly, then they can get around the flanks, they can win their combats quickly, and then they can just flank the pike phalanx before it can dispose of the superior warbands elsewhere. So these superior warbands they're very, very dangerous to average quality troops. And we saw with the veteran African spears, even if you have superior troops, if they are the wrong kind of superior troops, or the kind of superior troops which do badly on impact, like that's your offensive spears, your defensive spears, then the spears just crumble underneath them, unless they can hold, because remember that these veterans could have done very well if they'd held their nerve, especially if they're generaled up. But there are only a handful of units that can reliably beat superior warbands from the front, and that is lancers or armoured lancers, elephants, veteran pike phalanxes, and Roman legions or veteran Roman legions. And the veteran Roman legions are probably the only type of Roman legion that can almost always get the better of the Galatians, because they have enough of a quality advantage. Their elite quality will mean that they will slaughter the superior warbands. But even the Roman legionaries, the ordinary ones, the ones who are superior in quality and armoured, they only get their bonus from armoured, because of course the Galatians are superior. So again, if the superior warband can, and this goes for non-Galatian lists, of course, and when I say Galatian warband I mean superior warband, if the superior warbands can last long enough against the Roman legions, they can grind them down into pace and they can win that way. So you're thinking, well, nothing in my army works from the front. I don't have any elephants, I don't have any lancers, and I don't have any legionaries or veteran pike phalanxes, or the pike phalanxes are just too expensive. I can't form enough frontage, and I can't fill my army up with them, so what do I do? Well, the best way to dispose of the superior warbands is to get around their flanks, and if you can bring a large cavalry force, and what Thunderbird could possibly have tried to do is bring a very long line. He could possibly have tried to anchor it on this rough ground, maybe with some of the veteran Italian foot, and some veteran Italian foot over here, maybe something in this forest to protect the centre of the line. Or he could maybe have tried to defend back here between this built up area and these woods, and he could have had all kinds of nasty things sitting on this rough ground, because remember, I don't have any skirmishers with this army. So if you can keep harassing the Galatians, force them to advance, force them into this kind of fight, if you have mediums on this rough ground, then they will impede the progress of the rest of the army. Because unless they can move through this very narrow gap, and there is enough room here, in which case they'll be funneled and they may be vulnerable to flank attacks, everything that's sitting in front of here is essentially wasted, and these units are expensive. You hold up a line of Galatians along this ridge here, that's 300 points going to waste until the blockage can be cleared by getting around the flanks. And in the meantime, say you have a big long line of 33-point Phoenician foot with, say, some more expensive units holding the vulnerable part in the centre. This would be a good place to put your African veterans. You then take all the elephants and you take all the cavalry and you set it all up here, and as the Galatian army comes into sight around here, you throw the elephants into the flank. They will cause chaos. You engage with the Galatian cavalry, you try and win the cavalry battle, maybe use your skirmishers to help with that, try and disrupt the Galatian cavalry, throw in your cavalry, smash them off the field, the elephants smash up everything here, and then just tumble into the flank until you're at the river. And that's the kind of approach you want to take with the Galatians. The infantry will not hold against the Galatians, so what they want to do is hold them up using rough ground. And it's the cavalry, particularly any lancers or elephants that you have, that really make the difference, because they will just tumble through a Galatian line if they can get around the flank. But of course you also have to beat the tough Galatian cavalry, and you also have to watch out for distraction units like the chariots. So anyway folks, that has been my analysis of the Galatians. I hope this encourages you to give them a try. I hope this also encourages you to think of a few strategies that can be used against this faction. This was an example of how they're used against the medium-heavy list. I will be analysing their effectiveness against other types of lists as well. So please check out the rest of my series on that. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.